Before we begin, I'd like to announce that I'll be attending the 62nd Annual American Society of Dowsers National Convention June 8th through June 12th at Plymouth State University in Plymouth, New Hampshire. At the conference, I will be teaching a past life workshop on June 8th, and I will be a featured speaker on June the 10th. I will also be offering live one-on-one Akashic dowsing sessions at their wellness center, and Vital Bioenergetics Co-op members will be offering their products at a booth in the vendor area. For more information and to reserve your spot at this exciting event, please visit www.dowsers.org. And now for today's podcast. Welcome to High Vibes with your host, Bill G. At High Vibes, we're looking into what it means to be a fourth dimensional being in an ever-changing world. We hope that by listening to our podcast, you can feel a greater sense of peace and connection as we collectively raise our energetic vibration to the next level. And now for today's podcast. Hello and welcome to High Vibes. I'm your host, Bill G. And on today's episode, I want to talk to you about something that has been coming up a lot lately in my client sessions and in other synchronicities that I've been noticing in the world around me. And this is the need to let go of our burdens. Each one of us comes into our lifetimes with a similar soul contract for this life that we are about to live. It begins with a connection to love, as it is generally an act of love that manifests our physical bodies into existence. But then this thing we call time starts to take over, and we find ourselves meandering down the stream of life. As we float down this stream of life, sometimes we hold on to the oars, sometimes we let them go, but all the while the current carries us along the path. At some point, we start seeing things along the journey, and we start to take them with us as we add those things to our boat. Sometimes these things that we find are pretty little treasures. Sometimes these things are heavy and ugly, and sometimes these things are simply things that we hold on to just because we don't have the courage to let them go. As our little boat gets heavier and heavier, it becomes harder to keep it afloat, and it becomes harder to navigate when the waters get rough. And yet we continue to hold on to our treasures as if they are the most precious things in the world, even if it means that we will never be able to get to our final destination. Why do we do this? Why do we hold on to these things in our lives that serve no purpose and only burden us on our life's journey? The other day I was having a conversation with a coworker about our post-tax season workloads. I was feeling pretty good. I was making good, steady progress on reducing my post-season burden, and I was looking forward to being able to do more of the things that I love to do, like traveling, seeing more clients, and doing more podcasts. On the other hand, my coworker was feeling tired and overwhelmed. They were telling me about the seemingly unsurmountable workload that they were facing. I offered to take some of their burden from them, to take some of the more tedious but simple returns. But rather than expressing gratitude at the offer, my coworker was instantly fearful and angry at me for wanting to take away any of their precious files. They went on to tell me that I wasn't qualified enough, or that I wasn't smart enough to understand the needs of their precious files. They then proceeded to go back to their desk, surrounded by mountains of paper and file cabinets bursting at the seams, feeling lost and hopeless but yet comforted by the burden that they had accumulated. Last year, one of my coworkers died from a long illness. As their health started to deteriorate, rather than letting go of their workload to their fellow coworkers, they held on to their client files even tighter, as though they were the only thing keeping them alive. When they became too weak to come into the office anymore, we found file drawers filled with incomplete returns, which we had to desperately put on extension so that we could work on them in the off season. When we look at our own lives, how much of it is cluttered by the burdens and anxieties of the trappings of the journey? And how much of it are we able to let go of so that our lives are more free? The second part of this life contract that we have is a reminder that all of the things we gather into our tiny boat are just illusions, phantoms of reality, trappings of the journey designed to provide an illusion of meaning in one's life, even as the vessel itself is sinking. The vessel of our lives is our body, and the passenger is our consciousness. The less burdened our vessel, the longer and more joyful the journey will be. The more illusory things that we hold on to, whether those things are our jobs, our relationships, our addictions, or just the clutter in our homes, the harder our vessel will have to work, and the shorter the journey will be. Both of the co-workers in my story were in poor health. The first suffers from multiple chronic illnesses, and the second also suffered from multiple chronic conditions until their journey came to an end last year. This is not to say that their work was ultimately what led to their demise, but had they put as much effort and energy into keeping their vessel strong and healthy as they put into their work, then it is entirely possible that their journey would have been longer and more joyful. It begins by letting go, to clear for the integrity of the vessel, to reprioritize your efforts so that you only keep that which is real and rid yourself of everything that is part of the illusion. The other day, a client of mine personified this process quite elegantly within the time temple charts. From chart number 3, Prescription for a Better Life, we dowsed the following. From the soul plane chart, the etheric plane. From the mantra seed sound chart, we have Om, or pronounced with an AH sound, which is associated with the 7th chakra. From the Dharma chart, we have self-control. And from the frequency chart, every 13 hours. The etheric plane is all about taking action in the physical plane. When our thoughts and emotions are perfectly aligned with our high self, our actions are deliberate and geared towards our highest good. We know this to be true because my client's alignment is perfectly calibrated with their 7th chakra, which is their connection to source energy. Their practice is that of self-control, which is the practice of letting go of what they do not need and only keeping those things that bring the greatest joy and fulfillment in your life. Take a good look at the things around you that you are holding on to, whether they are work-related or just the clutter of things in your home, and take stock of why you decided to hold on to these things. Also take stock of the condition of your personal vessel. Is it strong, light, and able to handle whatever life throws at it? If after you look around and you don't like what you see, now is the time to take action. If you don't know where to start, don't be afraid to ask for help or accept help when it is offered to you. Akashic dowsing can help you start the process of identifying what you need and to let go in your life of what you don't need. And I'm happy to help you begin that process. However, there will come a time when you must continue to take action on your own, guided by High Self, to unburden your vessel so that your journey can be long and full of wonder and joy. Adane. Thank you for listening. For more information about Bill and Nina G, please go to www.vitalbioenergetics.com. See you next time.